The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is Tariq Farouk from Brain Surface, and I welcome you all to the third and final session of the Oracle VM Cloudathon. If everyone can hear me, please type something in the chat box. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check, please. Sound check. Okay, if everyone can hear me, please type something in the chat box. Okay, excellent. It appears everyone can hear me. Hello, everyone. My name is Tariq Farouk, and I welcome you all to this third and final session of the Oracle VM Cloudathon at Brain Surface. Before I begin, we're going to recap the first two sessions and talk a little bit about what we have covered so far. The first session, in the very first session, we covered two main topics: cloud computing with Oracle and Oracle VM, and the role that Oracle VM plays in the global cloud computing picture as far as Oracle's strategy is concerned with cloud computing paradigms and technologies. So we're going to recap a little bit about Oracle VM, its architecture, its different components, what are the requirements to get it up and running, and so on and so forth. So all the material, just to summarize, all the material, the multimedia content, the documents, everything is available at Brain Surface after this presentation is over, including the audio as well as the multimedia content. Also, I want to iterate that this series of webinar sessions has focused and concentrated on Oracle VM for x86, not Oracle VM for SPARC. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Oracle VM. We did already cover a little bit in detail about what Oracle VM is, what are the different components, what is the architecture, how to get it up and running. We'll summarize it before we get going today. So this is a little bit about me. I've been involved with various Oracle technologies for about 16 plus years, and I'm an Oracle ACE and Oracle RAC certified expert. You can read more about me at brainsurface.com. Excuse me. So Oracle VM is based on Xen. Xen is a free open source hypervisor and is the de facto industry standard for x86. Xen is Linux-based and is notably used and deployed by Amazon EC2, which is the dominant market leader in cloud computing. All key products are certified and supported on Oracle VM. Oracle VM supports the Solaris, Linux, and Windows family of operating systems and is very fast. All almost close to near native performance because of its relatively low overhead. So what is virtualization? Virtualization is a virtual media monitor, or a hypervisor as it's known. Basically allows you to emulate and run operating system kernels and coexist with each other on top of the hypervisor, which is the lowest level of the technology stack and sits on bare metal hardware. Two types of hypervisors, type 1 and type 2. Notable difference between the two is that the first one sits on bare metal, whereas the second one resides on existing OSs. Greatest benefit, greatest feature, greatest advantage of virtualization is consolidation, resource consolidation, and greater resource consumption and efficiency. So what is paravirtualization? Paravirtualization in its simplest form is where the guest VM sort of piggybacks and uses a special hypercall ABI, or an application binary interface, for performance, mainly for performance reasons. Full virtualization, or native virtualization as it's called by certain vendors, requires CPU support and is kind of generally relatively slower than paravirtualization. This is a little bit about Xen, its synopsis, its genesis, its origination, and you can read more about, you can learn more about Xen, which Oracle VM is based on, at xen.org. Excuse me. So this diagram depicts typical Oracle VM or Xen architecture. As you can see on the top left corner, we have device drivers for paravirtualization or device emulation, which basically represents the management and control, which basically sits on the management and control domain, also referred to as DOM0. That's the very first domain, which is also used for housing the software binaries for the hypervisor, which are basically responsible for the coordination management of various resources and the guest VMs, or DOMUs as they're interchangeably called, which are shown on the right side, all of which sit on the hypervisor, which basically is responsible for communication to and from the various resources on the bare metal hardware, such as CPU, memory, I/O, etc. Again, these are some benefits, advantages, mainly of which the main advantage is, again, consolidation and greater resource consumption and efficiency. So Oracle VM is a great suite. It has a wide variety of features and has a rich and dense feature set, and supports a bunch of different functionality, including P2V and V2V, which is also known, which stands for physical to virtual and virtual to virtual conversion of your existing virtual machines in other hypervisors such as VMware. So if you have VMware, you can easily migrate to Oracle VM using these utilities and tools, thereby saving, a license costs, because Oracle VM is free. You only pay for support. So 3 main operating system families supported by Oracle VM are, again, Windows, Linux, and Solaris. This diagram is important as relates to our today's session, the exercises and the demos that we're going to go through today. So I may come back to this in the future during the rest of the session, but let me go through the different components, different pieces of the puzzle here as far as the Oracle VM architecture is concerned. So at the bottom part of the diagram, you can see the Oracle VM server, which houses your hypervisor, which sits at the lowest level of the software stack. On top of the hypervisor, there is your DOM0, which also acts as your boot partition, which basically contains all your software binaries for Oracle VM or Xen, and is responsible for coordination and management of all your guest VMs, which are the 3 DOM-Us, as they're interchangeably known. So DOM-Us are also known as guest VMs and vice versa. At the top part, you will see the second component of Oracle VM, which is Oracle VM Manager, which is a Java-based server with a web-based UI. And it requires your Oracle VM agents, which are daemons and processes that reside on all the Oracle VM servers, for management of your Oracle VM architecture. So Oracle VM, to summarize, consists of 2 different components: the Oracle VM servers, which are the actual hypervisors or virtual machine monitors, and your Oracle VM Manager component, which is responsible for management. Now, technically, you can live just with Oracle VM servers and use your command line Xen commands to basically manage and run your Oracle VM, but Oracle VM Manager is a great and rich feature set component, and it makes your life a lot easier. So it's highly recommended to use both. This is a list of all your certified guest VMs. As you can see, again, the 3 main operating system families are Linux, Windows, and Solaris, which may not be here because it's a recent addition. So again, to summarize, Oracle VM has 2 main components: the server component, which is your actual hypervisor, and the Oracle VM Manager, which is the management component. We already went through a detailed and comprehensive set of exercises in the last session, in which we basically installed Oracle VM Server and configured it, and then installed and configured the Oracle VM Manager and integrated both the components. So Oracle VM Server installs on bare metal x86 hardware and does not require a pre-installed operating system. It already does come with a bare bones pared down version of Linux called Linux Juice, as it's pronounced, or Just Enough OS. And it boots a small domain called DOM0, which is basically housing all your hypervisor software binaries and is responsible for your coordination of various resources between your guest VMs, or DOM-Us as they're called. Again, this is the same diagram. This is another version of the same diagram that we just saw, in which on the right-hand side you can see 3 guest VMs, 2 Linux guest VMs, and 1 Windows hardware virtualized guest VM, sitting on top of the hypervisor and managed by DOM0. Oracle VM Manager is a Java-based management server. It's a great tool, and it greatly enhances your productivity. Oracle VM Manager, basically, Oracle within Oracle VM, all your Oracle VM servers are grouped together logically into what's known as server pools. These server pools can be high availability or HA enabled, which basically allows us to perform HA functions such as live migration, failover, and so on and so forth, which we will practice today as part of the exercises. This is another version of, this is another diagram showing the entire architecture. As you can see on top, there is the Oracle VM Manager, which is responsible for managing as well as administering all your Oracle VM servers, which are your actual hypervisors. Now notice that within Server Pool 1 and Server Pool 3 at the bottom, there are cylinders representing shared storage. Now, Oracle VM Server Oracle VM Server needs what's known as the OVS repository or the Oracle VM Server repository. This repository is basically a storage space that houses all your guest VMs, as well as your templates, your ISOs, and so on and so forth. Basically, pretty much everything that you need to get your guest VMs or DOMUs up and going. This OVS repository or shared can sit on a local storage, which is not shared amongst the various OVS servers. So every OVS server can have their own local repository and can also be shared. If you need to have high availability enabled between your different OVS servers, then you have to have shared storage on a shared device such as a SAN, a NAS, iSCSI, NFS, etc. We will see, this is an example screenshot. We will be logging into this screen pretty shortly. Oracle VM templates are basically sets or golden images that can basically be reused and deployed within a few clicks. Oracle provides a rich and dense set of pretty much every key component that's out there is basically available as an Oracle VM template by Oracle and is fully supported, complete with best practices and tuned, the whole 9 yards. There are the three different methodologies used for creating Oracle VM templates are basically if you have a physical machine with a Linux, Windows, or Solaris operating system and you need to import that, then you will basically boot up that physical machine with your Oracle VM Server CD, which will then mount up a web service, a Java service, Java-based web service, and be used for importing that physical machine without the need for any extra space on that machine into your Oracle VM Manager, used by Oracle VM Manager to import into your Oracle VM repository or Oracle OVS repository. The second methodology is basically you can create VM templates from your existing guest VM images. And the third one is that you have that it only currently supports the Linux family of operating systems. It does not support Windows or Solaris. The Oracle VM Assembly Builder is again a full stack tool that basically allows you to create templates or appliances, as they're called, for the entire stack, the entire IT stack, which can consist of applications, middleware, databases, web servers, and so on and so forth, and integrate them together. It's a great tool that allows you to basically package and structure and create your Oracle VM assemblies or templates, as they're called. So I mentioned earlier that Oracle VM is very fast. It definitely delivers almost near native performance. This is a diagram that shows you the difference. As you can see, it's pretty much, it's very, very good, and it's almost comparable. Oracle VM's guest VM architecture is almost comparable to your near native bare metal based machines. The Oracle VM Management Pack is basically used for extending your Oracle VM management functionality to Oracle Enterprise Manager / Grid Control. Everything and anything that you can do within Oracle VM Manager in the GUI can also be done within Oracle Enterprise Manager. The advantage being that you have a top to down level full stack view, including Oracle VM, along with other components such as applications, middleware, because Oracle Enterprise Manager / Grid Control is an end-to-end enterprise management solution. So, okay, so that was a little bit of summary as far as Oracle VM is concerned. This presentation, all these slides are basically available at brainsurface.com. You can download them and view them over there. So let's get started with our with today's exercise. Okay, one of the great things about these sessions is that we've been able to practice and learn installation and configuration of the Oracle VM suite without the need for bare metal hardware. And the way we've been able to accomplish this is that we are basically deploying a hypervisor on top of a hypervisor. This is not a supported configuration and is not recommended or supported, and basically cannot be used for production use. However, the advantage is that it allows us to and enables us to practice and learn installation and configuration right within your Windows laptop that you're using, or your Linux-based desktop or laptop, without allocating physical bare metal hardware. And that's really great. That's really awesome. Today we're going to, in last week's exercises, what we did was we basically installed Oracle VM Server and Oracle VM Manager. We got them up and running within Oracle VM VirtualBox, which is a Type 2 operating system-based virtualization solution. It's one of the great acquisitions by Oracle within the last number of years, and it's a free tool. It's really great, and we're using it today to build our Oracle VM architecture. So today what I've done is, as I mentioned earlier, we already covered all of this in our last week's session. So, but I'm going to give you a summary of what I did. So, my Windows laptop is a Windows 7 Home Premium Edition, 64-bit with 64 with 6 GB of RAM and a 640 GB hard drive. It's a great laptop. I love it. And the only disadvantage or shortcoming, I would say, is that the hard drive is 5400 RPM. It's got about 6 GB, but it's a little slow right now because there's like 3 guest VMs running, and and shortly we will be getting another guest VM within a guest VM sitting on top of a Type 2 hypervisor, which is really unheard of. I'm not sure if anybody has done it anywhere out there. It's definitely not supported, not recommended, and it was very experimental, but I was successful in getting it up and going, and I'm happy to share it with all of you. All of this will be available within the next week or so in the form of elaborate and comprehensive guides, as well as the multimedia, the audio, the video content as well. But more importantly, all the steps that I performed in the last 2 sessions as well as today will be available in the form of guides, so you can basically take these guides and use them to get an entire end-to-end Oracle VM architecture solution up and running on your Windows-based or Linux-based laptop or desktop within Oracle VM VirtualBox. So I have 3 guest VMs here. The first one is your Oracle Enterprise Linux 5.5, Release 5, Update 5, x86 64-bit. That basically houses your Oracle VM Manager component. Let me move the screen focus to that guest VM, please. So this is your Oracle VM Manager guest VM sitting on top of Oracle VM VirtualBox, which houses your Oracle VM Manager Java-based management server. As you can see, it's a little bit slow. The resources are pretty much pegged. Let me give you an idea of what the resource consumption looks like. Okay, so as you can see, the processor consumption is not that high. The CPU is right at less than 30%, but the memory is almost using entirely all of the physical memory. That's basically 6 GB. So let's go back to that screen. I just wanted to give you an idea of how slow the whole thing is. Okay, so this is your Oracle VM Manager guest VM. And Oracle VM Manager does not install on bare metal hardware. It needs an operating system, namely the Oracle or Red Hat or Linux family of operating systems. So we went through the process of installing Oracle Enterprise Linux or Oracle Unbreakable Linux 5.5, 64-bit. And let's go ahead and check the status. So we have our Oracle VM Manager up and running. So that was your Oracle VM Manager. And we have two Oracle VM server machines that are basically sitting on bare metal hardware that were installed on bare metal hardware, which in this case, it's not exactly hardware, it's basically guest VMs. So this is the first of the two Oracle VM server or hypervisors. And so your Oracle VM agent is up and running. Okay, great. So let's log into your, so this was a little bit of an overview of your machines that are basically, that represent your Oracle VM architecture. I'm clearing my browser cache because that can be an issue sometimes. So here I am to your Oracle VM Manager. As you can see, it's a web-based UI, and I'm logging in as a super administrator. And we've logged in. Let's talk a little bit about servers and server pools. So we have two Oracle VM servers. Within an Oracle VM server pool, you need to have at least one server pool master and utility server. Now, there's three classifications of these servers: utility server, server pool master, and your Oracle VM server, which is your actual hypervisor. The server pool master basically acts as a communication point and a dispatcher to the Oracle VM agents to the other servers in the Oracle VM server pool. Your utility server is basically responsible for the creation, migration, removal, and so on and so forth. In your VM server is basically your Xen-based server, the actual daemon for the hypervisor itself. So we have one VM server. Both of them are VM servers, are acting as hypervisors, and one of them has responsibilities of a server pool master as well as utility server. Both of these servers are logically grouped together into the server pool name. All of what I'm describing right now, we already went through the exercise in last week's session and how to set up a server pool, and I'm just summarizing it for you right now. So as you can see over here, the high availability, let me shift the focus to that screen. Okay. So as you can see here, your server pool is called HA. That's how I had it prefixed by HA, which stands for hypervisor. I'm sorry, high availability enabled VM server pool. Okay, and the WIP address is set over there. So it's a HA enabled Oracle VM server pool. So once your server pool is up and running, the next step of the process is importing or creation of your various resources. Okay. Now let's go and talk, before I talk a little bit about the resources, I want to talk a little bit about the OVS repository, the directory structure within the OVS repository. Okay, here I am remoting into using SSH, using PuTTY, which is a free open source tool, into one of the Oracle VM servers. And I'm going into the Oracle VM repository, which is a shared repository. Now, how was I able to accomplish a shared repository without a physical SAN or NAS or NFS or any physical shared device? I was able to do that using Oracle VM VirtualBox's shared VDI facility, which is a recent addition, a recent feature that they just added. It's been there for quite a while with VMware Server, which is Oracle VM VirtualBox main competitor. And they recently introduced this facility, this feature. So here I am into a shared repository that's shared between the two different servers that I just showed you. And let's go over the directory structure. Now, as you can see, we have these 5 directories. Okay, the ISO pool, the publish pool, the seed pool, the shared disk, and the running pool. And I want to talk a little bit about these directories because they're important in the overall scheme of things. The seed pool is basically contains all your guest VM templates. So anytime you create a template, it's going to reside within the seed pool, unless you manually get rid of it or delete it within Oracle VM Manager. It is going to sit in the seed pool. The shared disk directory houses all your shared virtual disk files that can be shared amongst the different guest VMs or DOM-Us as they're called. The running pool has all your guest VMs or your DOM-Us within it. The publish pool contains all your guest VMs, which are basically deployed as public. And finally, the ISO pool has all your ISO files or JUICE images that are used by Oracle VM Manager. So this is a little bit of a summary. You can read more about these directories in the Oracle VM 2.2, which is the latest and greatest version that we're using today. And all of the above that I just mentioned, you can read about them in detail in the Oracle VM documentation. So, okay. So let's go back to our Oracle VM Management Console. So after we have our Oracle VM servers up and running, we've installed them, configured them, we've logically grouped them into server pools within Oracle VM Manager. The next step of the process is to create, import, and configure your different resources. 4 different types of resources, the ones that I just mentioned, that correlate to the OVS repository directory structure are the VM templates, the images or copies of your guest VMs, the ISO files that are used for installation of your OS kernels, and your shared virtual disks. So here I already went through the process of importing a template. The guest VM today that we're going to get up and running as part of this exercise is a Oracle Enterprise Linux 64-bit x86 small template, which basically is like a 4 GB partition, so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. And as you can see, I've already went through the process of importing it, and it's available for us. The status is active, so it's available for us to create our guest VMs, which is going to be our next step. But let me quickly show you how easy the whole process is of importing your templates and making them available for use. So we have three options that we can, again, I mentioned these three methodologies that we can use. These are part of the three methodologies that we can use to create these templates. We can specify an HTTP or FTP source. We can discover from our server pool, which is the seed pool subdirectory within the OVS directory that I just showed you. And we can use the P2V or the physical to virtual tool or utility to import a physical machine into our Oracle VM infrastructure. So here I'm selecting select from server pool, clicking next here. I'm going to specify my server pool that I just showed you and my template. There's no template available right now because the only template that I imported or copied to the seed pool directory is already part of our available and active templates. So I just want to quickly show you how easy it is. So I'm going to go back and show you the imported template that's available up and running for use. So again, this is an Oracle Unbreakable Linux Release 5 x86 64-bit. The memory size of this template, which we can change or configure afterwards as part of our creation/configuration of our DOM-U or guest VM, is 1 gig. The two guest VMs that I have, the two Oracle VM servers that are basically guest VMs within Oracle VM VirtualBox have 2 gig of memory each. And the Oracle VM Manager guest VM within Oracle VM VirtualBox has 1 gig. So I'm using a total of 5 gig of physical memory in my Windows-based laptop to get this infrastructure up and going. So I can create a virtual machine. I'm going to go through these steps. I'm not going to actually create it because I've already created this virtual machine. But let's go through the steps of creating a virtual machine within Oracle VM. So I click here on this button. It gives me 3 options: create from a virtual machine template, create from installation media, which are your ISO images, or from a PXE boot network. So it gives us these 3 options. So I'm going to select based on virtual machine template. I'm going to select my server pool. The policy for preferred server is auto or manual. In the manual, I can actually specify which server out of the 2 servers I want this guest VM to reside on preferably. Or I can set it to auto, where it will automatically detect the server with the lowest resources being used at that point in time and allocate this guest VM or run this guest VM on that server. I'm going to select my template, which is your Oracle Enterprise Linux base kernel. And give it a name and a password. Here I can select whether I want this machine to be high availability enabled or not. I can add my virtual network interfaces. And after I click next, I should be able to confirm and create it. I will not create it because it will further slow down my already slow Windows machine. So I just showed you how to very easily by using a few clicks, create a guest VM within Oracle VM Manager. Now, after your virtual guest VM or DOM-U is created, it should show you the status of powered off. I'm going to go ahead and power it on. And as you can see, the status is initializing. This will change to running in a little while. This guest VM is para-virtualized. It's not hardware virtualized, such as an operating system family such as Windows needs to be hardware virtualized within Oracle VM with para-virtualized drivers on top, because this is a Linux-based guest VM, so it's para-virtualized. So meaning it's sort of like piggybacking off of the hypervisor. So as we can see, it's running. Let's go ahead and console into it. Let me shift the screen focus to the console. Okay, it appears, okay, it just came back. Great. I was hung for a little while, so I kind of got worried. Okay, it's asking me for my console password. This is something you specify as part of your guest VM. So as you can see, we have a guest VM within a guest VM on top of a hypervisor, which is something really amazing and unheard of. It's not a supported configuration. It's not something recommended, but it allows you to practice, install, learn, configure the whole 9 yards without the need for physical bare metal hardware. And all the steps, like I mentioned, will be available in the form of detailed, comprehensive guides on brainsurface.com that you can use to do all of this at home. So our Enterprise Linux 5 64-bit kernel has just booted, and I am logging in. And voila, we have liftoff. So we have a guest VM within Oracle VM up and running right now. The next step that we're going to perform is what's called as live migration. Because this is a high availability enabled server pool, or Oracle VM cluster as I call it, we can basically migrate live all our guest VMs that sit in an HA enabled server pool without any loss of service. And that's really awesome. So let's go about doing that. Okay. Let me So here I am using PuTTY to remote into that guest VM that we just started up within Oracle VM. And let me specify the password here. Again, so this machine is up and running. We will demonstrate how to live migrate from one VM server to another without a loss of service. So let's go back to our Oracle VM Management Console. And we have our guest VM up and running, as you can see. The status is running. And we will demonstrate how to live migrate from one server. The server that it currently exists, the actual VM server that exists is HAOVS02, and we will migrate it to HAOVS01. So I'm here on the next screen. I'm selecting the second server. As you can see, this is the only choice that we have because we only have 2 servers. And we click on Confirm. And that's it. That's all we have to do to migrate, to live migrate our guest VMs from one server to another. As you can see, the status is migrating. This will take a little while, depending on your resources, as well as the size of your guest VM. Now let's go back to our guest VM and see if we still have So as you can see, I can still use it. We will briefly, for just a few seconds, lose connectivity to the guest VM. But it should be up and running pretty much the whole time. So let's go back to our management console. And while it's doing its thing, let me go back to the diagram that shows you what we're doing here. Okay, so on the top you can see your Oracle VM Manager management machine, which is responsible for managing all your Oracle VM architecture or infrastructure, and uses what's called as Oracle VM agent daemons that sit on all your Oracle VM servers or hypervisors. On the left side over here, you will see your shared storage that we implemented by using Oracle VM VirtualBox shared VDI feature. And you have your different Oracle VM servers or hypervisors, one of which is acting as your server pool master as well as utility server. In our case, we only have 2 VMs, Oracle VM servers. So this diagram basically gives you a graphical depiction of what we are doing right now. So in the case that one Oracle VM server fails, one of the other Oracle VM servers can automatically assume or automatically migrate your guest VMs and get them up and running with a minimal downtime. Or you can live migrate them in real time if you have a planned downtime for patches, upgrades, and so on and so forth. So let's go back and see if the live migration is done. Okay, it is still in the process of migration. So we're going to give it a little while here. So we're coming pretty much to the end of our session. I appreciate all of you joining us, and hopefully you've learned something valuable today. If you have any questions, you can type in them in the question box, and I'll be happy and glad to answer your questions. Okay, we have a question here that, are we going to have any more of these sessions? The answer is we had 3 sessions that covered in quite a bit of detail the entire Oracle VM architecture, the different components, the paradigms, the technologies, and we demonstrated setting up of the various components through exercises all of this material, the multimedia content, the audio, the video, as well as elaborate and comprehensive guides that are available at brainsurface.com that you can use to practice everything that I showed you within the last 3 sessions. So this is the final answer to your question. This is the final session, and I believe we've covered everything that we needed to cover. If you have any questions, you can always go to brainsurface.com and post a question in any of the discussion forums, and I'll be happy, amongst others, to answer that for you. Excellent. So as we can see, the status just changed to running. The live migration is now complete. And let's switch the screen focus back to our SSH session. And see if our guest VM is still up and running. And voila, it is. So I just quickly showed you how easy it was to live migrate within an HA-enabled Oracle VM server pool, or Oracle VM cluster as I call it. Without any loss of service. So it's the same Oracle VM guest machine. And the amazing thing about today's session was that we were able to practice and learn everything without the need for physical bare metal hardware. And that is something really unheard of. And like I said, all of this will be available in the form of guides that you can use to practice at home. And I believe that's all that we have time for today. I appreciate you joining us, and have a great day.